This is Larry Lawton, and he's an ex-jewel thief. Larry's a former career criminal, once considered the biggest jewel thief in the United States.
All of a sudden, Lawton, get ready, you're going to Atlanta. I'm getting ready to go to Atlanta. Now, the anxiety starts building. This chapter starts the feelings, I guess I could say, because now we're getting into the prison. This chapter's chapter 8. It's called Journey to Atlanta. It's my trip to Atlanta after I got sentenced. Prison stuff kind of gets me anxious, but I want to change the system. You all know that. So I think you'll understand where I'm coming from in this chapter. But anyway, Journey to Atlanta. I get convicted. I was in South Street in Pennsylvania. I was in what they call 6th and Market, downtown Pennsylvania. And I was convicted, and I had 4 12-year sentences. So I'm back at the unit. It's called the Carrot Unit. I was back at Schuylkill, Pennsylvania, when I get word, okay, Lawton, you're getting transferred. And you're getting transferred. At this time, they don't tell you where you're going. So I get transferred. They say, pack up. Pack up what? You pack up shit, and they don't even take it. You're supposed to pack it up, and they send it to your unit, whatever that is. So they stick me on a bus, and we have to head to USP Lewisburg. United States Penitentiary Lewisburg had a holdover unit where you'd all go there, and then a plane would come fly into there, and you'd get there, and then you'd go from different units to wherever you're going around the country. So here we are. The bus takes us to Lewisburg. I'll never forget going up the hill towards Lewisburg prison. It looks like a scene out of Dracula. It's got 40-foot walls, the gun towers. It was in the morning. It was early, and it was so fucking eerie. I'll never forget it. And I'm going, oh, shit. So then they march you off the bus. Literally, they got guards all around. You march off. You got to get processed. Every facility you go to, you get processed. So they process into Lewisburg, and we go to J Block. We go to J Block, was the old block where they held the Marielitos, or the Mariel boat lift from 1980 when the Cubans came to the United States. They put prisoners and people who they knew were no good or whatever happened there. They put them in different prisons around the country, and they put them in J Block in Lewisburg, was one of the places. In Atlanta too, but where I was going. So anyway, they put me in J Block, and here I am, pretty new to prison. Been a pretty knock-around guy, been in jails, county jails, this kind of stuff. Never a prison like this. This is Lewisburg. And we're in a cell. And when I say the cell is about 8 by 10. And there's 2 guys to the cell. No, it's actually 6 by 10, because you could put your hands out like this and literally touch the wall. And I'll never forget, because my head, the guy's head would go to the other way. When you're sitting on the toilet, the other guy is literally his feet. You can grab his feet while you're taking a shit right on the toilet in the cell you're in. So we're in this little cell, and I'll tell you, part of the cell really sucked is they gave you a shower twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. But they give you a shower. Here's what they do. Every time you leave a shower or a cell when you're in what they call the SHU, Special Housing Unit, inmates and guys who've been in convicts. A convict and inmate are 2 different things. I'll get into that later. But as a convict, the SHU is really the hole. Just consider it the hole. It's where you never see daylight. You got 24 hours a day in that cell. They say they give you what they call rec. They don't ever give it to you. Or they say for the safe and orderly running of the institution, you're not getting out, that day or whatever it is. They feed you through a slot in the door. There's a little slot in the door that opens and closes, and they put the food in like an animal. And that's where you have to cuff up. Every time you leave a cell in a SHU or hole or special housing, whatever you want to call it, you have to put your hands behind your back, stick your hands through the chute, and they cuff you up. And now then they open the door, and they take you out, and they'd put you in a shower with 4 shower heads, and they'd put 3 other inmates in that shower with you. Now, you don't know who you're showering with. Could be rapist, murderer, it could be who the fuck knows. It could be a pedophile, it could be whatever it is. So they stick you in that shower, and I'll never forget how tense it was. You could feel the tension. Because who's in there? How do you know what they did? Did they bring something? Did they stick a knife in their ass? And it's called suitcase. And I'll tell you about that later, how you transfer things in your rectum. So we're sitting in there and you're taking a shower, but you're never comfortable. So, but you stink so bad in prison. People have no idea what it's like not to shower. We take the littlest things for granted in this world. But anyway, so they take us in, they give you a shower, so they bring us back, I'll never forget, and they bring us in the cell, and now you're talking to your cellie. Now, he's been in longer than me. He was at the holding center for longer than me, and he's been in prison longer than me, and he hated the prison. I had no beef yet about the prison. I really didn't know anybody in the prisons or in the system. I just know that I'm getting transferred. Still didn't know where I was going, but I was going to Atlanta, but I didn't know it at this time. So anyway, we're in there, and we're in these cells. Now, every prison, when you're in the shoe or the hole, the warden and his staff, the warden, the captain, the lieutenant of the hole, and a couple of what they call case managers, counselors will walk around, and they'll go to every cell, and they'll ask you, how you doing? And it used to piss us all off because, what a fucking dog and pony show. What do you mean how we're doing? I'm in the hole. I'm in prison. Some of these guys got life. They're never getting out. Whatever it is. And how are you doing? How the fuck you think I'm doing? Give me a blowjob and I'll tell you how I'm fucking doing. Look, I'm getting upset already. But anyway, so we're in the cell and all of a sudden word goes out to make a cocktail. It's called a cocktail in prison. And the cocktail is to douse the warden and all those people with shit and piss. Here's how you do it. You actually shit in a cup. They give you juice in the morning or a milk in a carton, and you open up and you literally shit in that cup. And then you put your piss and a little hot water in there and you let it ferment for a day. Think of that. Well, they sell, in all commissaries, they sell shampoo. So you have a shampoo bottle. You then transfer that concoction into a shampoo bottle. And you put all the shit and piss. And you can just imagine how this is smelling already. And it's in your cell. And when the word goes out, you're going to squirt the warden and his whole crew. Now, there's a little window, about this big by this big, a little window in the cell door. It's not a whole door. It's not bars. It's a door, but that a little window like this. We used to put a mirror through to look down the cell. You can look each way with a mirror. They sell little apron. They're not mirrors. They're not glass. They're a piece of plastic or a piece of, like that metal that shines. And you put it through and you can see down that way. You can see down that way to talk to somebody. So the word got out, and that's just two little bars in this little window thing. And the word gets out when the warden and them do their dog and pony show, which is bullshit. People get mad at it in every prison. It's a way to cover their ass. But when they got to they came in the end of the tier. It's called a tier. And they would open the door, they'd come in, they'd start walking down and say, how you doing? Yeah, get the fuck out of here. How you doing? Yeah. Everyone's cursing them somewhat, or yeah. Some people, I'm bad, I'm going to kill myself. Whatever it is, they're there. That's what they call the dog and pony show. Well, the warden has to go down to the end of the tier. He turns around, he comes back, and he asks everybody on the other side, because this cell's catty corner. That's how we actually made line and stuff to shoot lines under doors to transfer magazines, and talk about that in a later chapter in prison. So anyway, the warden goes down one end, and right when he got down the end, one of the inmates made a signal, started hitting the door with his foot. Everybody started squirting the warden, and now they're running. They got to run through this gauntlet, and the piss and shit is all over them. I mean, destroys them. Pit, and everyone's screaming like monkeys and going crazy. And I'm like, what the fuck am I in? I'm in an insane asylum. This is what I'm thinking. Sure enough, something's going to happen after that. Well, they get the goon squad. The goon squad is what they call the SORT team, special operations unit, or whatever the fuck they call them, the SORT team or the goon squad, they call them, the inmates call them. And they're huge motherfuckers. They're 6'5", 280 pounds, all geared up with helmets and a billy club and the whole works. They opened every single door and beat the fuck out of everybody in that cell. If there was 2 people or 1 person, some had 1, they beat them bloody and put them. I was no exception. I'll never forget my gut. My face was all swollen. I'm bleeding. They beat the fuck out of him and just left us as in a hump on the floor. I mean, obviously something's going to happen when you did that. But I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even make that concoction. They didn't give a fuck. That was the consequence. Literally swollen. You know, I love the people say, oh, they're not going to hit you in the head. They're going to hit you with a phone boot, not to leave a mark. Trust me, the BOP don't give a fuck. The Federal Bureau of Prisons don't give a fuck. And we're going to compare prisons. People always used to say, oh, it's better to be in the feds than the state. That's bullshit. In the federal prison system, when you get to maximum security prisons, they don't give a fuck how much money you got, who you know. You got nothing coming. And state prisons, you might know a guard. People live in the same state. Feds, they transfer you everywhere. So we're waiting to get transferred. Now the beating happened. That all happened. I'm just waiting. I got to get out of this fucking place. I don't know where I'm going, but I got to get out of this prison. It's just that bad. It's a fucking zoo. And I'm saying, whatever the fuck, I'm going. So all of a sudden, Lawton, cuff up. You know, you go and you know you're getting transferred. So you go down. And I'll never forget, I'm in Lewisburg, and so you ask the guy where you go, hey, listen, I'm getting on a bus to go to the airport, and where am I going? I'm going to Con Air. Now, I'm going to explain Con Air in a minute, but I'm at the counter, and the guy says, Lord, you're going to Atlanta. I said, Atlanta? He goes, man, I feel bad for you. He goes, you are fucked. He goes, you're a white boy going to that prison. You're fucked. That's the worst prison in the system. At the time, USP Atlanta was the worst prison in the system. It was a zoo. Let me explain the prison system to start with. You have what they call a camp. A camp prison is for like stockbrokers who do 3 months, a bullshit doctor who does 3 months, fucks up, does 3 months, cheats on his taxes, some bullshit like that. Then you have a low security prison. Now a low security prison has double wire fence, but they live in dormitories. So they'll have like, you know, big units of dormitories. There's no lockdowns. There's no doors. There's no place for people to be locked down. They're not cells. They're just a dormitory style living. There'll be a bathroom with a bunch of shitters and toilets and you know, sinks. And it's a dormitory style living. That's a low. But they got double wired fence. It's electronic fence, barbed wire all around. And they have circling every prison. They have a guy in a truck or a few guys in a truck. And they got a couple of trucks going around at all times, and they're armed and, you know, waiting for people. You can't escape them. It's none of that joke. And I love people say, oh, you know, federal prison's a fucking country club. It's such bullshit. People have no fucking clue what prison is about. Then you have a medium security prison. A medium security prison houses guys maybe with 20 years, 30 years, even lifers that have a lot of time, and they're somewhat violent, but maybe not to the level of a penitentiary. A penitentiary is your maximum security prison. I mean, when I was in Atlanta, we had 2,000 inmates. We had 880 had life. Think of that, 880 had life. Out of that 880, 200 fight their case legally. They want to keep going to the law library and fight their case. 480 or whatever find a lover. They live a life. They work in what they call prison industries and literally find a lover. The guys will punks in prison. A punk is a guy who becomes a girl in prison, and they're called punks. They'll actually tattoo their eyebrows red and lips red. They'll tattoo blush on them. They'll tattoo, you know, like a blush on their cheeks. They'll make underwear like panties and dye them with Kool-Aid. They'll actually cut them up and have dyed in Kool-Aid. Literally, they look like a woman. It's crazy, but that's what it is in prison. Well, about 400, 500 of those guys who have life decide that's the way to go. That's what they're going to do, and they'll fucking go to work, if you want to call it, called prison industries, a Unicor they have in the feds, and they'll fucking have a lover, and they'll come back. And I've been to a wedding in prison. I know that fucking sounds crazy, but I'll explain that later. So anyway, we're in the prison, and then you have what they call a supermax. A supermax is in Florence, Colorado. There's only one of them. And a supermax is like where Ted Kaczynski went, where the Unabomber went. You know, that's Ted Kaczynski. Then they have the other guy who did the 9/11 World Trade Center in '93. Sheikh, whatever his name was, Sheikh Mohammed something. But that's the worst of the worst. That's when you are so fucked up, you were going what they call the Colorado. Colorado's a supermax where you never get out of your cell, ever. There's no yard. There's none of this shit. And then they have what they call a program there. You have to step down to get to a penitentiary, and then so on. Well, most people, I didn't kill anybody. I didn't have a life sentence. I said, okay, I thought I was going to go to a max, a medium. Nope. My points they have a point system in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. My points only equaled out to a medium security prison, but they put me in a penitentiary, a maximum security prison. So anybody who tells me that they don't fucking do revenge, that's bullshit. I wouldn't rat, and when I wouldn't rat, they literally sent me to a maximum security prison to fucking stick it to me, because I wouldn't tell them who my partners were and all the bullshit. And they wanted me to rat on the mobsters and everybody I dealt with. And I just wouldn't do it. And I had to endure this. So anyway, they take it on the bus and the guy goes, "You're going to fucking Atlanta." I said, "Oh, fuck, okay." And then I'm asking guys, "What's Atlanta?" Like, "Oh, fuck, you're fuck Lawton." Whatever they know, you start talking to people. Man, that's the fucking shits. Well, first we got to go on what they call Con Air. Some of you might have watched the movie Con Air with Nicolas Cage. Con Air is just that. It's convict air. It's run by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And the only difference in the movie, they don't have those leg things that come around your legs. You know, they have them, they have the big plane. They got about 150 to 200 guys on that plane. You're so fucked. These air marshals don't play. You pull up to this plane in an airfield away from everybody. And surrounding the plane is this guards with shotguns. That's all it is, guards with shotguns. Now, before you get on that plane, you are strip searched. You know, bend down, spread your ass, fucking look up your balls, everything. Every time, I can't name how many times I had to spread my ass, fucking lift my balls, and open my mouth. Everything the fuck you got to do to get on a plane, because they don't know if you have something that, like a handcuff key or a bobby pin, or even like with a paper clip I can get out of handcuffs. So they strip search you. This is, again, you come down in the holding cell waiting for the air marshals. The air marshals come and do all this shit to you to get on that plane. So you get on it and you get to the plane and you have to get off. They start calling names. Lawton 522240004. That's my federal prison number. I'll never forget it. People know their social security number. I know my federal prison ID number. It's 522240004. It's fucking in my head, like it's like you would have your social security in your head. So anyway, they put me on the plane, and now it's just like they say, you know, holy shit, you know. After I've been on Con Air 16 times. 16 times I've been on Con Air, transferred from the prison to prison, which you'll see why later. But when I become a pro on Con Air, I used to tell the kids, the new guys, you know, tough kids, 25 years old, getting in the system, I'm a badass. Well, before you get on the plane, they'll say, okay, here, we're going to give you a bologna sandwich, a fucking apple, a fucking jungle juice, little fucking bullshit, and maybe a cookie. You're lucky, but doubt it. So anyway, they give you this shit, and I used to tell the young kids, I said, man, don't eat that. And they go, man, OG, you know, they call me OG. So I said, don't eat that. I said, trust me, kid, don't eat that. And they go, man, you don't want to eat that, OG? Man, give me that. I said, listen to me, I'm telling you, you shouldn't eat it. And they don't understand. When you're on Con Air, you can't go to the bathroom. You can't take a shit. Try holding your fucking shit for, when I tell you hours, I was on Con Air one time for 16 straight hours. Never left the fucking plane. Went from different stop to stop, and they're calling people off to go to a prison or go wherever. And here I am fucking on this plane, 16 hours. So don't tell me they're supposed to, okay, you know, it's supposed to let you do this. You maybe could take a piss. You'll end up shitting in your pants, or you'll fucking hurt so bad you got stomach pains because you're hurt and you're holding your ass. You're intent. They actually have a doctor on these planes because you're gonna bust your appendix, bust your intestines. It's really fucking bad. I'd rather go hungry for a day than eat this bullshit they're giving you anyway. And you're fucked. So anyway, here we are. We're heading to the plane. We get on the plane. I go on the plane. And you're handcuffed in shackles. Now, I'm an inmate that was going to a USP Atlanta. So they had me what they call black boxed. Now, not only am I in belly chains, I got leg irons, belly chains, and I got a chain that goes from your legs up until your belly. So there's a chain there and a chain around your feet. And they have you handcuffed. So you're like this. And it's, you can't move. You're totally like, you know, the cuffed like this. You can't eat. You can't do anything. You're just cuffed. Well, to really fuck with you, guys like me, they didn't like me. I was going to USP Atlanta. They don't really know you. The marshals just have it in a record. They must have put something in my record. And they put a black box on you. Now take your handcuffs. If you were handcuffed like this, and they have handcuffs, they put a box between your handcuffs. Now you can't even do this. It is you are so you get fucking marks in your skin, in your arm. That's unbelievable because you are sitting there and you can't move you can't even move like this. If you had a regular handcuffs, you can't do that. You're just sitting there, and that black box is into the chain. It's crazy. It's another mode of messing with you. But the other inmates look at you and they go, "He's black box. This guy must be a nut job or something," or they don't know what happened. So anyway, you kind of look and say, "Man, they think you're a badass or whatever it is, but why do you have a black box on?" The Con Air has so many prisons going all over the country. Well, the hub for the U.S. prison system, United States Federal Bureau of Prisons, the hub is in Oklahoma City. It's at the airport. They literally have a prison at the airport. Think of a major airport, like Kennedy Airport or Miami Airport. The plane pulls up to the prison, and the comes over, like goes into the door, and you walk off that fucking the plane into the prison. It's about a 12, 15-story building, and every floor has maybe 180 to 200, 300 inmates, whatever it is. Every single floor has that. Has pods, what they call pods of inmates. And they literally have that whole prison full, and they're transferring all over the country. It's the hub. It's in the middle of the United States. So what they do is the people coming from California to New York, they'll stop there. The prison system's so fucked up. I went from Jessup, Georgia, to Edgefield, South Carolina, which is about a 2-hour bus ride. They put me on Con Air, sent me to Oklahoma City. First, they sent me all around. You fly around with the plane until where it goes, and whenever they stop, whatever hubs they stop at, whether it's in New York, in Otisville, New York, there's a prison up there. There's one up in is Coleman, Florida. There's different areas they stop the planes and they get you off, and people are called off and on. Lawton 5222400, and you get up and you go back and you climb down the plane. They search you, put you on a bus, go wherever your destination is. Well, anyway, most people, everybody who's been in Con Air, anybody who's been in a Federal Bureau of Prison went to what they call FTC, Oklahoma, Federal Transportation Center, Oklahoma City. And that's in Oklahoma City, and it's right at the airport. Well, so anybody who was in the time, I went in from 96 until 2007. So I was in for 11 straight years in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I was on that plane about 16 times, maybe 17. And give or take, I pretty much lost count up when I went past 12, 13. So anyway, I'm on the plane, and now I'm going. I don't know where I'm going yet. I know I'm going to USP Atlanta, thinking I'm going to get on this plane. The plane's going to stop in Atlanta. This is not a joke. The plane actually did. It stopped in Atlanta. Do you think I got off it? No, I did not get off it. And I don't know what's going on, obviously, but I ended up at Oklahoma City. I'm in FTC, Oklahoma, and I'm at the prison, and they bring you off the plane, and I'll never forget, there's a legend guard there. He's about 6'8", 300 pounds. He's a big old fucking Indian guard. He wore a headband. He's fucking a real Indian, a fucking American Indian. And the guy was fucking gigantic. I seen him snatch a fucking dude out of the line when he told him to do something and take him into a fucking room, and he heard the screams. He beat the living fuck out of the guy. Didn't see the guy again. Beat the living fuck out of the guy. So anyway, they take you off this plane. Now you gotta remember, they're processing 150, 200 guys, whatever it is. So they have holding cells. So they bring you off the plane. They just shove you into a fucking holding cell, and they start uncuffing everybody. Sure enough, almost every time I did this, there was fights, major fights. I watched these two Spanish guys fucking go at it. Now the guards, these guys are going at it. Nobody breaks fights up in prison. So these two guys are fucking going at it. This one guy had this guy's head near a toilet. He's fucking kicking him. Bam, bam. And you heard ding, ding. His fucking head's going off. He was out. He's fucking getting bam. The guy was fucking totally out. Before the guards come into that cell and open that cell, the goon squad has to come. They don't just open that cell. There's fucking 100 inmates in this, fucking stuffed in this cell. And now imagine people got to shit, do everything, and they got one fucking thing. You're in a holding cell. One fucking bathroom, one shit or toilet. And man, I actually shit in that thing in front of 100 guys, because when you gotta go, you gotta go. You're all human. Wow, the memories of this prisons drive me nuts. So anyway, we go to Oklahoma. This guy gets beat half to death, and I'm telling you, he was just laying. I don't know what. They dragged him out, and goon squad comes in. Everyone's against the wall. They don't play. They're ready to with mace and all the bullshit, ready to you up. So everybody does their thing, and he gets out, and they process you. You go to up to one of the floors in the prison. So you're up in the floor, and you got about 60 to 80 guys. They have cells, 2-man cells all over. And the thing I remember about Oklahoma City too, the food sucked. It just was the worst. They have one floor as a kitchen floor, and they feed you like the carts come up. It's like a tray, and it's just garbage food. It really sucks because you know where you're going by this point because you're asked enough people, but don't know how long you're gonna be there. You got no money. You got none of your property. And when I say property, yes, even a cup and a pencil and maybe a pad or book that you liked or whatever the it is. You got nothing. You're in this holding cell. It's this tank. This is what they call a pod, and you're in there, and you hate everybody there. You just want to get the out of there. As bad as I'm going to Atlanta, I want to get to Atlanta. That's all my goal is get the Atlanta. It's that bad, and that's just the way it is. It's a zoo in there. So all of a sudden, you have to stay in there. You could stay in there 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months in this place. They give you 2 stamps a week, supposedly. A lot of times they don't do that. So you could write a letter in a pencil with they give you the little pencil like the golf course. I'm a golfer, so if you golf, they give you a pencil. It's nuts. Just trust me, it's nuts. And you're trying to then you sharpen the pencil on the concrete walls, or wherever you can off of the bars on something, anything. You try to sharpen a pencil because you don't get many of those. I become a master at taking a razor out of a bullshit razor, and I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so we're in here in this holding cell. You don't know when to go, and they keep every night. You never sleep because every night people are coming and going. It's a transfer station, so every night at 1 o'clock you're hearing people, the doors being banged. Come on, we'll be back in a minute. Get ready. Of course, you try to get up and take a shit to do what you can because you're going on a plane, so you want to whatever you can. And then the guys who are convicts who know what they're doing, they wouldn't eat. They're smart. They knew what to do. They're rather a little hungry than have that pain of having to go to the bathroom when you know you can't. But anyway, we're sitting there and you're waiting. You're starting to hate everybody. You can't do anything. You just want to get the hell out. You meet a guy. You might like a guy, meaning, he's a dude from your hometown or whatever, and he's transferred the next day. So everybody's going and coming. It's just a sucky place, but it's something that if you've been in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, you're going to do that. You're going to go to Oklahoma City. So anyway, all of a sudden, Lawton, get ready. You're going to Atlanta. I'm getting ready to go to Atlanta. Now, the anxiety starts building. You got to go to Atlanta. Holy, you're hearing all this bad. All the people who come through your pod who've been to Atlanta, not been to Atlanta. How bad is Atlanta? Do you know anyone there in Atlanta? And at this time, I had a note suitcase. Now, let me explain to you guys what suitcasing is. Suitcasing is when you hide something in your rectum. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what you do. You hide something in your rectum. You literally insert it. Just to give you a little hint, you have 7 extra inches in your anal canal to hide anything you want. So when I was in Schuylkill, Pennsylvania, and Farrington, I was doing those 2 prisons for my pretrial. I knew some mobsters who knew me, made phone calls. Hey, this guy's a stand-up guy. And they knew other people in Atlanta. So they gave me a note. And it was a note that I actually suitcased because they search you every which way you can imagine. Now, there's no metal in it or anything like that. It's going to go off in a metal detector. But it's in a plastic bag wrapped up. You lube your ass up, and in the toilet you stick something up your ass. And it is up your ass. Believe me, it comes out. But it's kind of, you make it hard, so it's like about that long, and it's wound pretty tight. And you insert it in your rectum. Now, you can feel it there. You don't have to go to the bathroom or anything. You already went. You know you're clean, and you're not going to eat anything. And I had a note for one of the mob guys, one of the big mob guys, a guy named Vic Arena. And if you look Vic Arena up, he was a mob boss with the Colombo crime family and had the wars with the Persico faction of the Colombo crime family. They had the wars in the early 90s, which I knew about when I was on the streets, actually. But Vic Arena was trying to take over the family. He ended up getting 3 life sentences. I got to know Vic very well, Nicky Scarfo, that I'll talk to you about in Atlanta. But I had a note for Vic Arena to give him when I got to Atlanta prison. That's how messages are transferred from people, or even items are transferred from one prison to another. I mean, what I've seen people's suitcase, believe me, you could put a lot in your rectum you don't have no idea about. And it's done all the time, every day in prison, from shanks to, you put a shank in your rectum by, you take a toothbrush holder. You put a steel shank in the toothbrush holder, and you put masking tape on the end. Now you lube it up and you stick that toothbrush holder up your anus and your rectum. And when you get to the yard, you do that not from transferring on the planes. You got to go through metal detectors that they will not mess around with. Even though you're on a yard and you had to go through 3 metal detectors, when there's so many people around, they'll pass you through. You'll go off, they'll pat you down, they'll see nothing, and they'll say, get out of here, go. They don't know if you have a bullet in you. They don't know if you have a metal knee, and the line's backing up. And this is just in prison. So they'll say, go, get going. And you get to the yard, and you bend down, you squat down, and you have 3 of your friends around. You literally take that shank out of your rectum, and you have a wooden handle on the yard along a pathway, and you literally put it there and you put it in. So anyway, I'm getting to Atlanta. I got a note suitcase ready to go. Right? So once the guard says, Lawton, pack up, or you're getting ready, and they tell you to get ready to go to the bathroom, whatever it is, we'll be back in 5 minutes. And I suitcase my note again. It's up my rectum, and I'm ready to go. And boy, you want to talk about anxiety? I had a lot of anxiety getting to Atlanta, and we'll talk about that next. I'll stop this chapter now. I hope it's not too long. Hope you guys are liking this. I really do. I like the guys who are emailing me and giving me messages on YouTube. I try to answer as much as I can. You know that. I hope to keep this thing going, build a big platform here so we can maybe make changes in the screwed up system you can hear about. I hope you liked it. My journey to Atlanta. That's just getting to Atlanta. The next chapter is going to be the worst of the worst, which was Atlanta, and that's going to be chapter 9 coming up. You can listen to me read the chapter of my book, Gangster Redemption, on Spotify and iTunes, and the link's right below. You can do that. Please pass the word to people. I hope you like it. I hope I'm doing a good job, I guess. People say it's all right. They like it. I'm just me. I hope to meet people. I hope we have some kind of going on down the line, and I hope we keep this all going. It's kind of going to be nervous because some of my friends died and a lot of going to go on. But it gives bring back memories. Some good, obviously, some bad. But that's just life. And I hope to pass all this on. If you're having problems and stuff, stay strong. Really hope you like it. Stay tuned for chapter 9.